We have Cheryl, who's actually with us at UNCW, the Office of University Relations, current art director. And we have Shannon, who is the editor at Focus on Coast Weddings. So we are very fortunate and very happy to have them here today. So I would say digital Zoom clap. Thank you for joining us today. Before we go into our breakout rooms, we have some questions from students and curated from us that just gives us a bit about you. So what I would like each panelist, and I'll start with you, Eric, if you could just give us a bit about your current role in your organization, and then I'll go to Shannon and then Cheryl, if you can share that, please.
Fantastic. Thanks, Charles. My name is Eric McCart, and I'm the Vice President and Market Manager for Cumulus Media. And Cumulus Media, if you don't know much or anything about Cumulus, we are an audio first company. Cumulus originally started out as being in the radio station business, and we have radio stations all across the country in market sizes from small, medium to large. We're in Dallas and Houston, Chicago, but we're in Wilmington and Fayetteville and Myrtle Beach and all other places across the country. So we are in the radio business, but we're also in the audio and content creating business. We also, part of our company is a company called Westwood One. Westwood One produces a lot of syndicated audio programming and podcasts, et cetera, sports programming, talk radio programming, as well as each individual market has music stations, talk stations, urban stations, a variety of different content formats, if you will. But we're also in the digital advertising business. So it's a beautiful combination of being able to help local advertisers. That's part of my responsibility is to attract and hire and coach and train and keep top talent that enjoy working with local businesses and creating content also for the general population, in our communities to serve their needs, both in terms of entertainment, information, but also to serve the needs of local businesses to help them advertise their products and services so that they can grow and prosper. We help connect the dots from, all things in the community to the community. So I oversee and work with a lot of really wonderful people. That's probably the best part of my job. We have a very great team and happy to be a part of it. So hopefully that gives you kind of a bit of an overview.
No, thank you. It does, Eric. I will now turn this over. Shannon Gentry, if you can tell us a little bit about yourself and your organization, your role.
Sure thing. So you'll notice that there's an Encore magazine logo right underneath. Usually I would be talking about Encore, but unfortunately that weekly alternative newspaper in Wilmington that was around for roughly over 35 years, it actually could not survive coronavirus. And we first went to fully digital from print, and then folded in November 2020. But since then, I started a new role with Focus on the Coast Weddings, and that is kind of an managing editor role. And with that, I basically handled the day-to-day, getting all of the editorial lined up for this, what is usually a biannual publication, is now right now, because of the current market we're in, is an annual publication. But my day-to-day as it stands is helping to build editorial and scheduling out for advertising and photography shoots and everything from leading up to going to press for that issue. And that particular publication obviously focuses on weddings and connecting people who are planning their wedding, just love weddings, to local vendors in town, and all of the resources that you typically need when you are looking to plan your wedding in the Cape Fear. And there's a lot of overlap from my time with Encore, and then being a freelancer and contributor for several local publications. I've been, with Lumina News. I've contributed to Wilma, but Encore was my longest stint as a staff editor for 6 years. And I think if anybody is particularly interested in this side of journalism, or creative journalism, as we like to say with alternative weeklies and such, I represent a big part, or I can talk a lot about, this thing called the gig economy. So I have freelanced and piecemealed for several years since earning my MFA in writing. So I can talk a lot about the pros and cons to that, because it has built my resume, and it led me to actually being a part-time instructor with the Communication Studies department here at UNCW. So I thread a lot of my experience with these various publications into my course called Strategic Writing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And lastly, Cheryl Nu, who's our art director at University Relations, Office of University Relations. So Sam, if you could tell us about your organization and your role.
Alrighty. Well, hello everybody. Yes, I am the art director for UNCW. I've been in this position for about 2 years. Before that, I was a graphic designer for about 30 years. I've seen a lot of things change from print to web. My current role now, like I said, I'm in University Relations, which is made up of 4 areas: creative services, web communications, media production, and communications. A typical day for me is managing the UNCW brand and all the creative projects within creative services. I also advise designers and my other co-workers on best solutions for the project that meet the needs and the standards for our brand identity and our strategic plan. Other than that, we use a project management system called Asana to put our arms around everything that we work on. So everybody's kind of involved in that. That is only within University Relations. I also answer a lot of emails, probably 100, I'd say an average of 100 emails a day. And that is just people want to know how to use the logo, or it may be to approve something. All approval that is outwardly facing, externally facing, should come through our office. As far as the graphic design part of it, I was a graphic designer, as I said, for a long time. And my day then was using the project management system to kind of manage myself and my time is moving projects forward. And that involved working with print vendors or web vendors, advertising vendors, and doing a timeline and making sure that everything was met in a timely manner and stayed on schedule. And the biggest thing for me, I think the challenge as a graphic designer and as an art director now is keeping up with the software and the digital change and things moving so quickly this day and time.
Okay, thank you, Cheryl. You actually touched on the first question, which I was going to direct for you, which was, what's your favorite part of your job, and what's something that may not be so glamorous about your job that students may not be aware of?
For me, my favorite part is collaborating with everyone on campus and off campus to get the best solution possible within the time frame that we're looking for. My other thing is, because it is challenging, I do kind of embrace that challenge, and I have to keep learning. So do the designers that I work with. We try to stay on trend. We look at software and we try to follow best practices. Something we're really concentrated on right now is accessibility in PDFs and on the web. That people just put PDFs out there all the time, and so right now we're trying to get our arms around that, and that we do make them accessible. Do they still fail at some point, sometimes in different areas, if people have not designed the InDesign document correctly? there's still some issues. So that is what we're really focused on right now with me and the designers, to really make those PDFs accessible as they should be and pass every single time. Things I don't like, as I said before, some of these emails that I have to chase down. Somebody will put a project request in and then they'll give me all the pieces and the parts. And I got to email and say, can I have this? Or they'll just put a random date, like they want it tomorrow, and it might be a 24-page publication. And I'm like, no. Can we change the date on that? And that's just not that I don't like it. It's just kind of, there's a little kink in the workflow, but that's what I do, keep it going. Probably the most thing that it is the biggest challenge for me is when something has already been done and then somebody comes to me and says, did you see this? Did your office approve this? And I'm kind of like, oh no, but I'll find out and we'll make it right. And so that makes me scramble a little bit too. And sometimes I have to decline a request and try to think of another solution, which can be hard because sometimes the request is just not appropriate for the brand. So that's a challenge.
No, and I see from Shannon and Eric the nods of approval with a lot of what you said. Like, yeah, especially that email portion, when it gets really extensive, it can be much. The next question I actually have, I'd like to preface it for all three of you, but I'll start with you, Eric, is what can students do to make themselves more marketable in your industry, especially now with the way things are in our nation, pandemic and all?
I think really it hasn't changed. It may be more of the how you do it as opposed to what you do, but I've always encouraged and recommended, as I did when I first got started just the other day in this business, right? But I think that it's connecting with members in the local community or where you're from that are in the business or related industries that you have an interest in pursuing, as a career. Obviously, that may change over time as you continue to explore your options, but whether it be through an internship, that's something that really opened the door for me getting into this business. I've been doing what I've been doing, I hate to say it, but I guess since I was 14 years old. I mean, when I was in high school and college, I really enjoyed the quote radio business, which led to me working with some fabulous people and having the opportunity to collaborate and be creative. But I would say engage, connect, and don't give up in trying to establish connections in the industry or industries that you're interested in, to learn and ask a lot of questions.
Thank you, Eric. Shannon?
Yeah, I think for me, in this industry and my side of things, being able to troubleshoot effectively on your own is a big deal. I've had to I've had to learn a lot of things since getting work at various publications. And when I set out to be a writer, I never thought I would need to learn any kind of Adobe product and design or anything. And now that's what I use all the time. And what I try to incorporate to some degree in my class, my strategic writing class. We use Spark, but a lot. But what I would say, and what I think of is when potential interns come to us, like either at Encore and even with Focus. I actually have an intern right now. What's helpful is when students have some idea of what they want to do, what they want to write about, what they want to learn more about. Because yes, I can assign you things, but it's more helpful for me to have a better understanding of what your interests are. And I think that is ultimately more helpful going into a jobs market when you can better articulate what your real interests are. And how you can execute your skill set for a specific job, rather than just say, I'll do whatever you want me to do. Well, that doesn't tell me where your skill set and interests lie. So taking this time as a student and learner to really figure some of this stuff out. You're still going to keep figuring these things out well after you graduate. But, you know, at least going into, you know, a job interview or internship, knowing, you know, this is what I'm interested in. This is what I want to learn. I'm open to lots of things, but here are some examples of what I would like to do specific to your publication, specific to your needs. Because that shows me a lot of initiative, that you understand what we do, and you understand how you can fit, rather than putting it upon me or the employer to figure it out for you, if that makes sense.
No, thank you. And sure.
I would touch mostly on, yes, ask questions and to definitely be able to troubleshoot. And I always tell everybody, never assume that you think something's been finished or you think something's been handled. Double check behind yourself. That is a very important thing for me, even though I check behind, and I know I don't have to do it behind the designers or whatever, but they send that project off. I'm going to go look at that project management system every once in a while and just make sure. And I'm just kind of still babysit some of that stuff. And I don't really need to, but I've just been, and it's not necessarily, anything can go wrong with the press, you know, anything. So I just really want to just please never assume that something has been done or hasn't been done or whatever. The next thing I'm going to talk on is, you know, what the things that you are interested in. There are 4 graphic designers in our office, and I'll have 4 different skill sets. I use those skill sets and assign accordingly. I have one that's a really good illustrator, one that's really into, you know, print publications, one that's more on web, one that is into motion graphics, one likes athletic kind of things and different kind of subject matter. So I kind of fill those out, so, and to ensure that they get projects that they enjoy working on. And if you enjoy what you do, that's going to be a big plus. And you're not going to enjoy it all the time, but you can, you know, get the best out of it what you can. And sometimes you may be so creative, and they'll tell, and then somebody, and also remember who your audience is. Who is your target audience? Because just because somebody is telling you what they want might not be really what they need. And to bring those two together and make it, you know, a happy place in the middle is another challenge, but make it a good challenge.
I think you touched on within our industry important things. One, it's okay to be slightly OCD to double check before you send something out. I think in all facets, that's 100%. And the truth with our work, not every day is a perfect, like these commercials show, and like, yeah, every day is a party at work. It's not necessarily. Those are truths, that there are just some bad days or long days. It happens in every field, in every job. With the flow that we're going, the next question I have is your current placement. So what led to your current position, in the sense of, you know, you may not have started where you are. I always tell students really quickly, like, my first job was at NBC doing editing in Philadelphia. And they're like, how are you a career counselor? You know, I'm like, those skills translate. So if you could just touch briefly upon, and I'll start with you, Eric, what led to your current position?
Wow. Like I said, it was just the other day when I got started. But I actually, when I was in high school, our high school had a radio station. We're very fortunate. And I became interested in that. I was in sports and, you know, this radio thing, and because I listened to the radio all the time. So I started out as a DJ. And then after, you know, going to college, working at a local top 40 station in West Lafayette, Indiana, where Purdue University is, got my foot in the door and did DJing. But then I found something else that I enjoyed, and also got married and needed to make a living, and got into radio advertising sales. And the rest is kind of history, because I enjoy it. But our industry has evolved so much into the digital world, right? To where our industry is not what it once was when it first started, and like so many others. So, but I just think it's, my advice is if you find something that you enjoy, and I'm very fortunate, I enjoy going to work every day. Not every day is great, like you were talking about. Not every day is as exciting as we would hope it would be. But more times than not, if you can find something that you really feel that you enjoy, then it may take you a while to find that. Immerse yourself in, making those connections, as I refer to. Learn as much as you can from others around you. And I have a passion, and that's something that is yours and yours alone to share while you're job seeking. Those experiences that you have learned, they show when you're sitting across from a potential employer, a company that you really, has been someone that you aspire to work for. It shows that passion that'll separate you from other candidates, and helping you to escalate to whatever you can be or what you want to be.
Thank you. Shannon?
Well, I like to tell, I mean, I don't like to, it's just what it is. I took the scenic route. If you want me to start way back when I was a brand new grad with my BS in psychology. So I got my psychology degree and minor in sociology. And with the idea that I was going to go on to graduate school to be a guidance counselor. And and I ultimately, pulled out of the program that I was in, and I ended up getting a job as a research assistant and moving to Indianapolis, Indiana. I worked through IUPUI. Eric, you might be familiar with that, but but after a couple of winters above the Mason-Dixon, I was like, well, this is for the birds. I'm not doing this anymore. And I just wasn't a fan of working in an office. I was in a clinic all day, no windows. And it was very stifling to my soul after a couple of years. I really did love the work that I was doing, by the way, but I just needed a change. And that's what, and I circled back to this idea to join the Peace Corps. And that's what and so that's what I did. I joined the Peace Corps and I lived in the South Pacific for a couple of years. I promise it all ties in. But while I was there, I realized I really enjoyed writing and just writing about my experience, sharing my experience with my friends and family through my blog. Everyone has a blog. But and I decided, hey, I'm going to go back to school. I'll get into some kind of writing program, and I'm going to write a book, write a great memoir about being in the Peace Corps. Which, what young white female hasn't written about her experience in the Peace Corps? I'm kidding. But while I was in my program at Savannah College of Art and Design, which I really liked my program because it was a marriage of professional and creative writing. And so while I was working on my Tonga stories, that's where I was, while I was working on refining Peace Corps stories and everything, I really discovered that, hey, I kind of like, my professional writing class, and I like my writing for new media class, and ended up getting an internship at a publication. I was like, I really like telling other people's stories, maybe more so than my own, and I think I might even be better at it. So fast forward, that's how I got into writing for publications. And that's what I really love about writing for local media outlets, because you're telling local stories. I love connecting readers with my community, and it actually makes me a more engaged community member because I'm learning about all these places and people around our town, and and connecting others to those stories and getting people engaged. And what I think everyone will miss about Encore is that Encore really connected the community with the arts and entertainment side of things, which I know that void will be filled with like Port City Daily. They're going to start doing more entertainment news kind of things too, but that's how I got into this. And there are so many like off stories in between. I did not have a set goal in mind when I was in undergraduate school. And sometimes that's okay. I think for some students that's super scary. Why would you do that? but but I think for others, maybe it's a little reassuring that, you know, maybe you're not going to do the right thing, the exact thing that you want to do right out of school. And maybe that'll be the exact thing that you need to not do, if that makes sense.
No, it does. It does. Thank you, Shannon. And before we go into our breakout rooms, we'll have some other questions that we can do there. So, Cheryl, I'll leave this to you so you can continue and wrap with this question.
How did I get in this? Let's see. Well, I went to school to be an art teacher. I went to East Carolina University. And I decided to take a graphic design course. And I was kind of working in the newspaper printing field part-time as I was doing that. And my graphic design teacher was like, "You're not going to take the second course." I said, "No, I'm not a graphic design major. I'm an art teacher major." Anyway, whatever it was by then. And she said, "Oh, no, no, no. You have to take graphics too, and you have to try and submit your portfolio to get into the program." I was like, "What?" I was a senior getting ready to do student teaching. I thought, okay. And anyway, I did it and I worked really, really hard. And out of about 75 people, they accepted 12 of us in the BFA, and I got in and changed my major as a senior. Yep. And I was working, and it took me a while to finish all my courses and get all that done, but I did it while I was working. And that was when I first started, was when the second models of the Macs with the Apple computers back then, when they first came out, and it was very little. So I'm very proud to say I got started on one of the first Macs they ever made, and now I'm working on the latest, greatest equipment that they still make, and including the Adobe software, which has come a very, very long way. And I found myself just growing with the graphics arts, and when they started, they just kind of took off. And when digital presses and the digital ages started booming, and I was in the right place at the right time, and it has served me very, very, very well. And when I had the opportunity to apply for this art director position, I really wanted, that was like, okay, now I want to help the other designers and help the other people, because sometimes, anyway, as a graphic designer, I want to be able to say more and do more, or explain more and teach more. And with this position, I'm able to actually teach more and explain more, and I feel like engage people more, and just it was a good decision for me. And as challenging as it is, I'm very proud to be the art director of UNCW, and I'm enjoying it.
We're happy to have you here.
Thank you.
And for those who are joining us, I love seeing some of the just comments in the chat box that you can kind of pull out. Adobe is definitely key. At this moment, we're actually going to go into our breakout rooms. So that's where our panelists are going to go into, so that they may be able to speak with you one-on-one, one-on-four. So please feel free. You will see the breakout rooms. You can choose which breakout room you would like to go to, so that you can have the opportunity to speak with one or all three, depending on what questions you have, they may have there. So at this moment, we're going to open these breakout rooms. You'll be able to speak to our panelists. I want to thank them for that. And then afterwards, you will see the message reminder that the breakout rooms are closing, and then we'll come back so that we can have a question and we can wrap up. So at this moment, the breakout rooms will be open, and you have the option to pick which breakout room you would like to join first.